If you're in the market for an investment property, it's important to know what to look for to protect yourself from a bad deal. Here are 10 things that you should keep in mind when considering a potential real estate investment. Section 1. Property damage. It's necessary to find out whether there's been any major property damage in a building you are considering purchasing, and if there was an issue, how any repairs were conducted. This can be determined during a formal property inspection, but can sometimes be noticed just by taking a critical look for physical scars on the building during a showing. Some things to look for are patches in drywall or cement, discoloration of ceiling and walls, different color shingling on one part of the roof than another, and maybe even a water line along a basement wall. And it's essential to know how such issues were repaired because they can rear their ugly heads once again if they were repaired incorrectly, only this time it will be on your dollar because you would now be the homeowner. Additionally, it's not uncommon to have your agent, should you be using one, call the selling agent and inquire further about something that you may have discovered on your walkthrough. You can ask for receipts and even proof of what was done and that it was professionally completed. Number 2, expired leases. Before investing in a property, you need to know the status of every lease of all the current tenants in a building, and if they have expired or are about to expire. This is because you won't have a lot of direct contact with tenants in a property until it officially becomes yours, and so you won't have a great perspective on each tenant's intentions. If a tenant's lease has recently expired, it's possible that they are looking to move out of the building, and that's very much within their right to do so. Buying a property can be expensive, and if you're relying on their rental income, finding out at a later time that a tenant is on their way out can be financially challenging for you. Number 3, expensive property taxes. To determine whether or not a potential investment property is worth the asking price, you need to know the tax amount on the home before making an offer. Taxes can be expensive, and they can change from municipality to municipality, which gets annoying and confusing for all of us, believe me. When researching a property, if you find that a building's taxes are more than you anticipated and you haven't yet put in an offer, it's always advisable that you lower your bid to compensate for the increase in cost. And this is especially important if you are financing the building and rolling in the taxes with your mortgage, as the new amount can change everything for you. Number 4, noisy neighbors and limited parking. Noisy neighbors can be a huge problem for an investment property. If you're able to hear the neighbors during your first showing, then it's a wise choice to maybe keep looking and find a different property. Because trust me, you do not want for yourself or for your tenants to have to deal with challenging neighbors within a close proximity to you. Additionally, take a hard look at the parking situation of any property that you're considering buying. If there are only a few off-street parking spots available, there will be a turf war between your tenants for those coveted spots. Parking is a large enough issue that should you have limited parking, you may have trouble renting out the property. That is my experience. And number 5, property liabilities. Something not spoken enough in investment circles is physical liabilities on properties that you'll be renting out. Things like broken and cracked sidewalks, unstable floorboards on porches and decks, those are always things to worry about. But also consider things like swimming pools and high balconies. I consulted on a property last week that had a treehouse. I was the only one that was concerned, but that's fine. The reason it's important is that you as the owner could be held liable should an accident occur during the use of one of these unique features. You can have tenants sign waivers and disclosures, but a lot of my clients just don't want to deal with even the possibility of something bad happening while on the property. They don't want to think about it, they don't want to worry about it, which I understand. So if there's something crazy, we just keep looking. So in the context of what to look for when you're out looking at investment properties, make a list of any liabilities that you see during a showing and have them fixed or dismantled before bringing tenants in. One other thing to think of is about high-standing trees around a building that may impede on surrounding properties. If they could fall on top of another's property, then you will be placed at fault. So in that case, you should consider investing in a tree removal service when you take ownership. Because again, you don't want to make war with your neighbors. You want everybody to be happy and get along. So let's recap. You must look out for previous property damage and how it was remedied. Be mindful of expired leases and the current status of tenant contracts already in the building before purchasing. Research property taxes before putting in an offer. Look for loud neighbors and complex parking situations. Always be on the lookout for safety hazards that could bring a lawsuit to you later.
As a real estate investor, it used to take me 3 months of research to find a property worth investing in. Then I found Mashvisor, a platform that helps investors make confident decisions within minutes. Start your free trial at mashvisor.com.
Number 6 on our list of what to look for when purchasing a property is restrictive covenants. These are rules that you have to follow when owning an investment property in a particular neighborhood. They might include things like the size of a building that you're allowed to construct or how high certain obstacles, like a fence for instance, can be. Some investors choose to forego purchasing a property in areas with restrictive covenants altogether to avoid future consequences and costs should they break those rules. Number 7, failing HVAC and plumbing systems. Plumbing, ventilation, air conditioning, heating, they're all very expensive for significant repairs and replacements. While plumbing issues are sometimes found just during showings and home inspections, heating and HVAC issues are not always so easy to find. But it's imperative you do so because they will cost you in the long run if issues go unnoticed. Years ago, before I was even in real estate, my sister bought her house in the month of January. Now, we are in upstate New York, and it is very cold, and there is a lot of snow all the time. And the heat worked, but we were promised verbally that, you can tell where this is going, that the central air also was functional. And they said, you don't have anything to worry about. Well, summer came, AC didn't work. So it's unfortunate, but there wasn't anything we could do about it. It was a verbal discussion. We didn't get anything in writing. We just had to eventually replace the AC. And it's a very common trick as a means to help negotiations on the part of sellers, saying something works when there's no actual way of affirming that claim. In this situation, get your attorney involved early, specifically in the negotiation phase of the sales process, and make sure that you're legally protected, and should something be different than what you were promised, he or she will ensure that there's some kind of repayment or recourse in that occurrence. Actually, it was that situation that proved to me I should get into real estate because I was always intimidated by the business, and there are so many iffy, nonsense nuances to that transaction. And I thought, if that dumb agent could do it, I can. That's the truth. So number 8, closing costs. Make sure you have a realistic idea of what closing costs you are responsible for and how much they amount to. Closing costs can include things like lawyer fees, mortgage origination fees, filing fees, and more. And it's crucial to find out how the closing costs are split between a buyer and a seller. And as these things affect your budget, they can ultimately also affect whether you close your property on time or whether you close at all. Ask your agent to help you forecast what you will owe. Many have just a simple printout explaining the financial breakdown, and they can provide it to you. It's really easy. Number 9, renovation costs. When purchasing an investment in poor condition, you need to know what it will cost for you to renovate that property to bring it to a habitable standard. Even if the property can come at a fantastic price, if more money than you have will be required to fix it, then you should not buy that property. If you're not doing the work yourself, a licensed contractor will often come with you to a home showing and help you predict what your renovations may cost. A home inspector will not help you with this. They can tell you that something's wrong or abnormal, but a lot of the times they won't want to give you direct answers about fixing or paying for issues because it's simply not in their licensure. And number 10, limited opportunity for renovations. Sometimes properties physically cannot be changed enough to meet the needs of an investor. I have seen so many enthusiastic flippers and DIYers in my day who purchase single-family homes with the intention of dividing up that property into 2 or 3 or more units, only to find out that it is not physically possible to do so. It comes down to the physicality of the building. If the supports don't run a certain way, or the plumbing can't be brought from one side of the house to another at a reasonable cost. So one has to be smart and realistic with the physical limitations of a currently standing home. If all else fails, and you don't have a contractor who's willing to come out and give you an estimate, I would even recommend paying to get an estimate before buying, because it's better than sinking your savings into a wasted effort. So let's recap. Look out for restrictive covenants before entering into a purchase contract. If at all possible, check for working HVAC systems and plumbing issues. Consider all closing and renovation costs. Should you want to do something outlandish with your investment, ensure that it can be physically done before purchasing. Hey, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. We post videos on real estate and real estate investing every Monday and Thursday. To learn more about Mashvisor and how we help beginning investors make smart investment decisions, check out the site by clicking on the links in the description.